Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live here on AOC Community Media. We provide this service every weekday at 9 a.m., reading articles from the Acadiana Advocate, local and state news, led by a group of wonderful volunteers. And with us this morning, thank you so much, Bruce Cohen, for reading the articles and the news here for us today.
Well, you're entirely welcome, Mandy. It's great always to be here. I like my Mondays and my Tuesdays to start off the week because there's always a lot of stuff that happens over the weekend, especially sports. I mean, you heard about the Saints win yesterday.
I did, yeah.
They're on their way to they're on their way to the playoffs with yesterday's wins, and Chicago lost. The Chicago Bears lost their game, so the Saints are on the way to a playoff game this year. So this could be a big year for them. You know, Drew Brees has been out of play. He can't play because he hurt himself, and Taysom Hill has been replacing him, and he's just bumped up that offense just like Drew Brees has. So it's been really wonderful.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And then the win Friday night. With the Cajuns beating Appalachian State for the first time ever.
Oh, wow.
And I watched the game. It was a nail biter down to the last 4 seconds. And App State was on the 20, 25-yard line trying to kick a field goal, and they shanked it. They missed it. And that was it. And the Cajuns won the game.
Wow.
So they're having an unbelievable season too. I mean, just an unbelievable season. With everything that's been going on with all the COVID and everything, it's just been incredible.
Yeah, so it's great that we got a win somewhere for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice amid all the stuff that's going on right now in the world. It's good to have that. And I'll read about it when I get to the sport. So I'm going to take over the helm here. Thank you so much, Mandy, for being my main person this week at the helm of all the engineering and technical aspects. I appreciate it very much. This is Bruce Cohen, and this is Local News Live. So good morning, Acadiana. Today is Monday, December 7th, 2020. And so we'll start off. We did have an election this past Saturday. So let me read you some of the results that came out of that. There was a runoff from the November election. So election 2020. Thomas victorious in runoff for city marshal. Win smashes a racial boundary, makes history by Claire Taylor. A retired 30-year veteran of the Lafayette Police Department, Reggie Thomas, made history Saturday, by winning the runoff for city marshal. It's the first time in the city of Lafayette's 135-plus year history that voters elected a Black person to a citywide post. In 1910, the city marshal's office started, Thomas said Sunday. An African-American had never won that. I am proud of that. Hard work, knocking on doors daily, and emphasizing his qualifications are what Thomas, a no-party candidate, believes carried him to victory over his opponent, Kip Judy's, a Republican also with 30 years in law enforcement with Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, and now as police chief in Doosan. We didn't have the money. We didn't have the big endorsements, Thomas said. We knocked on doors. I went out to meet people. It was like working 8-hour days knocking on doors. Thomas only recently began mentioning the historic significance if he could win the race. He said he didn't want the election to be about political party or race. I told people there should be a job interview and they should pick the best person to handle the job. Thomas retired from the police department in June after Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory, who took office in January, said he was eliminating the deputy chief position Thomas had held for 3 years. That position was created by former Mayor President Joe Robideau, especially for Thomas, who, despite his experience in serving as interim chief for 11 months, wasn't able to apply for police chief because he had a 2-year college degree instead of the required 4-year degree. The newly elected city marshal didn't want to discuss that Sunday. I'm a religious guy. I think God opens doors, he said. What should be looked at is the way I reacted. I did not go negative. I did not try to file a lawsuit. I handled it professionally. Thomas said he looks forward to working with the Lafayette Police Department and Lafayette Parish Sheriff Mark Garber, who endorsed Judy's. He commended Judy's for a clean, negative-free campaign despite different plans and ideas. Thomas plans to appoint a transition team to learn every aspect of the city marshal's office, looking at how things might be done better than have been done the same way for decades. One of his top priorities is to earn accreditation for the office, which was lost under previous city marshal Brian Pope, who was convicted of 3 felony malfeasance in office charges and is serving a year in jail. Accreditation, Thomas said, will provide the department with directives and procedures, written guidelines that will serve as the department's standards. He also hopes that 26 people in his office can obtain training through the police department so everybody's on the same page. Currently, the office has its own trainer. Thomas said the office could save taxpayers money by training through the police department. I intend to go into the marshal's office and make it one of the best in the nation, he said. In other election results from Saturday in the Acadiana area, we had a constitutional amendment number 1, to allow out-of-state resident to serve on the higher education board, to allow the governor to appoint a person who resides out of state to serve as an at-large member of a public post-secondary education board supervisor. It was voted down, so 76% voters said no, 24% said yes. So it was defeated. In the city marshal, city court, city of Lafayette, again, Reggie Thomas won with no party affiliation of 51% of the vote, and Kip Judy's Republican got 49% of the vote. The District Judge 15 Judicial District Court, ES1, Division B, Travis Broussard, the Democrat, only lost at 30% of the vote. Valerie Gotch Garrett, another Democrat, won with 70% of the vote. District Judge 15 Judicial District Court, ES1, Division D, Royal Colbert, Democrat, got 56 of the point in a win, and Amanda Martin, the Democrat, only got 44%. District Judge 15th Judicial Court, District Court, ES5, Division C, Tommy Frederick, the Republican, got 50% of the vote, and Ricky LaFleur, Republican, got 50% of the vote. So I'm not sure, that seems like a tie. Not sure how that's going to be resolved. RSCC member, 23rd Senatorial District, Division C, Tom Angers, Republican, got 45% of the vote, and Daniel Todd Escalona, Republican, got 55% of the vote in a win. And the propositions, proposition number 1, which was a renewal of the 1985 1% sales tax in the city of Lafayette, and this tax would generate about $36.2 million a year for capital improvements, and up to 45% can be used to supplement the city general fund, was voted no, was voted down. 57% of the votes said no, and 43% of the votes said yes. Proposition number 2 was another renewal of a 1961 sales tax for the city of Lafayette. The tax would generate about $42.6 million a year for capital improvements, and up to 45% could be used to supplement the city general fund, and that was voted down as well, with 58% of the votes saying no and 42% of the votes saying yes. Okay, moving on. The Lake Martin boat launch reopened. Wildlife and Fisheries property owners have interim agreement by Ken Stickney. A months-long dispute over public access to a boat launch at Lake Martin was resolved this week. Ed Pratt, spokesperson for the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, said Friday that the public received a win with an agreement involving the Schaaf Hebert family, which owns property on the lake, and the department. An issued statement from Wildlife and Fisheries said the two sides reached an agreement Monday to provide full access to the public to Lake Martin. Wildlife and Fisheries has sought the removal of barriers placed by the family, blocking access to the launch and traditional parking areas since March 1st. The publicly constructed launch is the only public entry point for boaters into the lake, which is legislatively designated as a game and fish preserve. We're very pleased, St. Martin Parish President Chester Cedar said. We applaud all parties involved. Parish government will work with whomever pursuant to a permanent lease agreement. On Monday, Wildlife and Fisheries and the family agreed to an interim consent judgment that allows the launch and adjacent parking area to stay open until a lawsuit over the matter is resolved or until Wildlife and Fisheries and the family reach a permanent agreement. The launch is a gateway to a pristine and natural environment that people have enjoyed for decades, Wildlife and Fisheries Secretary Jack Monteset said in an issued statement. We are happy that the family and all concerned could reach that decision. This interim agreement was established through the efforts of Wildlife and Fisheries legal staff, along with the Louisiana Attorney General's office and those representing the Chafe-Abier family landowners. Wildlife and Fisheries said the reopening comes at a time when hunters need access to Lake Martin for duck hunting, fishing, boating, and birding. The public boat launch was blocked for nearly 9 months after the family that owned property adjacent to the launch said it was concerned it would be held liable should any accidents happen while people were on its property as they headed to the launch. After months of unsuccessful discussions, Wildlife and Fisheries asked the courts to intervene. Wildlife and Fisheries lawyers, assisted by the Attorney General's office, filed suit in November against the property owners, asking to have the launch reopened. On November 19th, a temporary restraining order from the 16th Judicial District Court reestablished public access. The parties continued efforts to resolve issues surrounding the boat launch and agreed Monday to the interim consent judgment that also addresses the family's liability concerns. Okay, one more story, and then we'll take a little bit of a break with some public service announcements. UL grads weather an unusual semester. Ceremony set for Tuesday and Wednesday. Article by Ken Stickney. David Allen, the University of Louisiana at Lafayette's top graduate school graduate, said he'll collect his diploma with some sense of relief Wednesday. It's over. It's finally over. All those hard, long nights of work finally paid off, is what he said will cross his mind at Wednesday's graduate school ceremony at Cajun Field. You didn't quit. Allen, who graduated from Opelousas Catholic High School and UL's undergraduate program in architecture, was selected as a top graduate school graduate in the School of Art and in the graduate school, awards he didn't expect but relishes nonetheless. The son of Nathaniel and Grace Allen of Eunice said the College of Arts helped him through a journey of more than 5 years to collect his undergraduate and graduate degrees and encouraged me to excel. He'll start work as an architectural designer in Denver next month. He said he tried to be a credit to his parents who instilled in him a good work ethic and taught him how to carry himself, or how to carry myself. At the end of his collegiate career, he said, he hopes he made good on their investment in him. Allen will graduate, he said. He probably put on that black robe at the last of 9 commencement ceremonies scheduled for outdoors at UL on Tuesday and Wednesday. Weather forecasts call for plenty of sun both days. 6 ceremonies for academic colleges will be held Tuesday. Ceremonies for 2 academic colleges and the graduate school will follow on Wednesday. There will be no general assembly at the Cajun Dome that occurs most semesters in a nod to the dangers of COVID-19. The outdoor venues are intended to ensure the health and safety of attendees. Fall 2020 commencement ceremonies can be viewed via live stream on UL's website. The schedule for graduation ceremonies, the College of Liberal Arts, will start at 8 a.m. Tuesday at Cajun Field. College of the Arts, 8 a.m. Tuesday at Lanson Park, the Yvette Garrod Field. College of Education, 8 a.m. Tuesday at MLT Gamora Field or Rousseau Park. The Ray B. Authement College of the Sciences, 11 a.m. Tuesday at MLT Gamora Field in Rousseau Park. University College, 6 p.m. Tuesday at MLT Gamora Field, Rousseau Park. The B.I. Moody III College of Business Administration, 6 p.m. Tuesday at Cajun Field. College of Engineering, 8 a.m. Wednesday at Cajun Field. The College of Nursing and Allied Health Professions, 8 a.m. Wednesday at Rousseau Park. Graduate School, 6 p.m. Wednesday at Cajun Field. The university will provide parking for family and friends of graduates who will have tickets to individual ceremonies. Seating will assure social distancing, and guests and graduates will be required to wear masks. Those attending can carry one small clear bag and a purse or a clutch. University police will check contents. Share commencement photos and messages to the class of 2020 on social media with hashtag RAGIN, RAGIN, GRADS, GRADS. And you can also go to the UL website to get all that information. Okay, we'll take a break with the first public service announcements of the morning. Winter comes a little later in Acadiana, but it comes. In fact, we wish that we could launch this appeal on hashtag Giving Tuesday, which was last week. But frankly, our first freeze is predicted to be Monday night. We don't have time to wait. Due to COVID-19 and concerns for community spread, there has been a dramatic decrease in available shelter beds. Those beds will remain unavailable throughout the winter. That means many experiencing homelessness may have no other option than to sleep on the street. Throughout this pandemic, ARC, ARCH, has been able to utilize local hotel and motel rooms as a temporary housing solution. From there, case managers help our fellow Acadians transition to more permanent housing. We're very proud of our success in keeping those we serve from COVID-19 and on their way to long-term stability. However, the number of homeless is growing and winter is here. We need your help to get our neighbors out of the cold and into warm, safe housing. We're asking you for your help. So please go to www.arcacadiana.org. That's ARCHacadiana.org. If you would prefer to give by check, please mail to ARC, ARCH, P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, LA 70502. Vitalant, there is an urgent need for blood donations. Blood and platelets donations often drop during the holiday season as fewer donors are available because of seasonal activities and illnesses. But this year, 2020, the outlook is particularly worrisome, with many schools transitioned to virtual learning and businesses in work-from-home situations. About 1,600 Vitalant blood drives that were scheduled for November and December have been canceled. Currently, there is an urgent need for O-negative blood, the universal blood type that all patients can receive. O-negative donors can maximize their impact by giving a power red donation. We encourage donors to make an appointment by visiting vitalant.org. That's VITALANT.org, or you can call 877-25-VITAL. That's 877-25-VITAL. Request for mosquito control now available through Lafayette 311 portal. Lafayette Consolidated Government, LCG, is an increase in mosquito abatement efforts in the parish, and an increase in mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event, which we had many this year. Citizens noticing an influx of mosquitoes in their area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request service. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. And we are getting into we've had a couple of chilly days recently. So hopefully the mosquito situation will have died down by now. But if you do have problems in your area, please contact the Lafayette portal for mosquito control services at Lafayette 311. Okay, we'll get back into the news. Continuing with election news from this past Saturday, 3 taking seats in the 15th Judicial District Court. Garrett, Colbert, Frederick will win runoff election. Staff report. 3 judgeships in the 15th Judicial District Court were decided in runoff elections this past Saturday. Election Section 1, Division B, Valerie Gotch Garrett with 70% of the vote, defeated Travis Broussard with 30% to replace Judge Jules Edwards, who unsuccessfully ran for city court judge rather than re-election to the district court. Garrett has been a lawyer for almost 3 decades, practicing almost every type of law. She started off as a juvenile defender and worked her way to life sentence and death penalty cases. I think it goes back to when I was 7, when I saw Thurgood Marshall in action. She said in an early interview that he became a Supreme Court justice, and I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to change the world. Moving on to election Section 1, Division D, Royal Colbert, with 56% of the vote, defeated Amanda Martin with 44% to replace retiring Judge Edward Rubin. Colbert served in the National Guard while an undergraduate. He was in the 256th Mechanized Infantry Brigade and served 2 years in the Air Force while paying back school debts. For 16 years, he was a member of the Judge Advocate General Corps and still does work in military courts. Colbert has been a public defender as well as a prosecutor. Colbert traces his roots in Lafayette to the Truman subdivision. He played sports in Lafayette and used to ride alongside his aunt, a police officer, as she patrolled. It's important, he tells supporters, to know the mores and forays of the community. He is a Mason and a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. The election Section 5 Division C race, seeking to replace retiring Judge Edward Broussard in Vermilion Parish, Tommy Frederick defeated Ricky LaFleur by only 41 votes, according to unofficial totals. Born and raised in Abbeville, Frederick graduated from the University of Southwestern Louisiana, and now the University of Louisiana at Lafayette and LSU's law school. After law school, he returned to Vermilion Parish and clerked for Judge Durwood Conk in the 15th Judicial District before opening his own practice. Frederick said he served as a public defender for 11 years and as an assistant district attorney for 1 year. He has served as the 15th Judicial District Commissioner for the past 18 years after being unanimously appointed by the 13 judges in the district. Our next story is Louisiana teachers pay competitive at first, then fades, by Will Santel. When it comes to pay, public school teachers in Louisiana are better than average at the start, but then plummet in the rankings for the rest of their careers. The average starting pre-tax salary, $40,400 per year, is better than both the Southern and U.S. averages, $38,420 and $40,154 respectively. But after that, teachers here get less on average than their peers, both across 15 other states in the South, according to a teacher compensation dashboard unveiled last week by the Southern Regional Education Board in Atlanta. After 15 years, salaries go up, but take-home pay after taxes, retirement, and health insurance averages $32,110 compared with the regional average of $34,613 after 35 years. Essentially the career for most teachers. They take home an average of $36,592 per year compared with $44,105 across the region. Both put Louisiana 11th out of 16 states. One thing the data shows us is some states are taking a front-loading approach and trying to raise the money or raise the salary at the starting end, said Megan Boren, a policy researcher who leads the board's work on teacher and workforce issues. Some states are kind of taking the opposite approach and adjust their salary schedule so they kind of focus on retaining teachers, Boren said. Louisiana is more of a front-loading state. The issue has been a sore point for teachers' leaders for years. After the first year, your money doesn't grow, said Keith Corville, executive director of the Associated Professional Educators of Louisiana Teachers Union. The increases for 4 years or 4 years of service, as well as increases for degrees, are not large enough. Corville said he spent $6,000 to obtain his master's degree, which resulted in a $500 pay raise. It will pay for itself in 13 years, he said, quipping. Teachers in the South are paid nearly 21% less than professionals with similar educational levels, according to the Southern Regional Education Board. The state had 47,586 public school teachers during the 2019-20 school year, the latest available. That includes 6,258 with 1 year or less experience and 4,851 with 2 to 3 years in the classroom. Those numbers have changed little over a 5-year period. A total of 6,534 teachers have 25 years or more experience, according to figures provided by the State Department of Education. The newest teachers make up 13% of the workforce, and those with the most experience are 14% of the total. State Superintendent of Education, Cade Brumley, said it makes sense to focus on starting pay. Systems are just not recruiting in-state. They were recruiting out-of-state and competing with systems coming from out-of-state to recruit Louisiana educators, he said. Brumley also said he supports and backed during his previous jobs as superintendent of the Jefferson and DeSoto Parishes school systems, pay differentials for teachers who take on added responsibilities, work in more challenging environments, and who produce better outcomes for students. The fact that new teachers in Louisiana are relatively well paid has been noted in the past. The Southern Regional Education Board dashboard is aimed at providing a snapshot on overall teacher compensation, including health benefits and pension plans. The average monthly health insurance premium for an individual teacher here is $144 compared with $125 across the region. Family premiums average $501 in Louisiana versus $624 across the South. However, salaries are often viewed as a key indicator of how educators fare in their states and the chief cause of work stoppages in recent years. Teacher salaries averaged $50,288 in Louisiana compared with $53,340 in the South and $62,304 nationwide. Top salaries averaged $56,660 in Louisiana versus $66,534 across the region and $74,582 in the U.S., according to the Southern Regional Education Board. Governor John Bel Edwards has promised to get teacher pay to the regional average before he leaves office in 2024. Edwards proposed 500 teacher pay raises earlier this year, but his plan was shelved amid plummeting state revenue caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Taya Mills, president of the Louisiana Association of Education Teachers Union, said the drop in average pay between new teachers and veterans is a long-standing challenge. Mills said starting pay represents a solid recruiting tool to get educators in the classroom. However, Louisiana and other states are plagued by a huge number of teachers who leave the profession in the first 5 years, including complaints about lack of support from administrators. The teachers, need to be able to know and understand that there is someone there to guide them on a consistent basis, Mills said. Southern Regional Educational Board President Stephen L. Pruitt, a one-time science teacher, said ensuring that teachers have somebody they can go to is crucial. It really makes a difference, Pruitt said. Louisiana requires prospective teachers during their senior year of college to spend one school year working with a veteran mentor in a classroom after complaints that lots of new teachers were not prepared to handle the job. The dashboard so all this information is compiled online. If you're willing to look it up, you may go to sreb.org to get all the information about what I just told you about and about teacher pay. And if you're a teacher, you certainly want to check it out. Okay, it's 9:27. One more article here. Let low winds run off. Well, let's go to we're almost at our halfway point. So let's go to our day in history, the zodiac or the horoscope, and the funerals in the Acadiana area for today. First off, we have the day in history. Today is Monday, December 7th. It's the 342nd day of 2020. There are 24 potential shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history being December 7th, 1941. The Empire of Japan launched an air raid on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, as well as targets in Malaya, Hong Kong, Guam, the Philippines, and Wake Island. The United States declared war against Japan the next day. On this date, also in 1787, Delaware became the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution. 1909, in his State of the Union address, President William Howard Taft defended the decision to base U.S. naval operations in the Pacific at Pearl Harbor and Hawaii instead of in the Philippines. 1972, America's last moon mission to date was launched as Apollo 17 blasted off from Cape Canaveral. Also on this date, in 1972, Imelda Marcos, wife of Philippine President Ferdinand E. Marcos, was stabbed and seriously wounded by an assailant who was shot to death by her bodyguards. 1982, convicted murderer Charlie Brooks Jr. became the first U.S. prisoner to be executed by injection at a prison in Huntsville, Texas. 1987, Soviet leader Mikhail S. Gorbachev set foot on American soil for the first time, arriving for a Washington summit with President Ronald Reagan. 1993, gunman Colin Ferguson opened fire on a Long Island Railroad commuter train, killing 6 people and wounding 19. Ferguson was later sentenced to a minimum of 200 years in prison. In 2004, Hamid Karzai was sworn in as Afghanistan's first popularly elected president. Also on this date, in 2018, the man who drove his car into counter-protesters at a 2017 white nationalist rally in Virginia was convicted of first-degree murder. A state jury rejected defense arguments that James Alex Field Jr. acted in self-defense. 10 years ago on this date, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange surrendered to authorities in London, where he was jailed for 9 days before being freed on bail as he fought extradition to Sweden for questioning in a rape investigation. 5 years ago, the federal government opened an investigation into the Chicago Police Department. The same day, authorities announced they would not charge an officer in the shooting death of 25-year-old Ronald Johnson, a black man who authorities said was armed with a gun as he ran away from officers. 1 year ago, in a rare diplomatic breakthrough between Tehran and Washington, Chinese-American graduate student Zhu Wang, who'd been held for 3 years in Iran on widely criticized espionage charges, was freed as part of a prisoner exchange that saw the U.S. release a detained Iranian scientist. Today's birthdays. Linguist and political philosopher Noam Chomsky is 92 years old today. Bluegrass singer Bobby Osborne of the Osborne Brothers is 89. Actor Ellen Burstyn is 88. Baseball Hall of Famer Johnny Bench, 73. Actor, director, producer James Keach is 73. Singer-songwriter Tom Waits, 71 years old today. Go Tom, one of my faves. Senator Susan Annam Collins, Republican from Maine, is 68 today. Basketball Hall of Famer Larry Bird from the Celtics, one of my favorite players, 64. Former Tonight Show announcer Ed Hall is 62. Actor Jeffrey Wright, really fine actor, 55 years old. Check out anything he's in, Jeffrey Wright. He was in the HBO series Westworld, plus a million other projects. But check him out, really fine actor. Actor C. Thomas Howell, 54. Former NFL player Terrell Owens is 47. Latin singer Frankie J, 44. Pop rock singer celebrity judge Sarah Bareilles is 41. And actor Jennifer Carpenter is also 41 years old today. Let's look at the zodiac, folks. If you're a Sagittarius, take the initiative, invest time and energy into setting up a routine that helps you continue to strive for positive goals, better relationships, and a brighter future. Capricorns, a chance to how you handle your finances, health, or legal matters may not turn out as anticipated. Don't believe everything someone tells you. Be resourceful and leave nothing to chance. Aquarius, if you want to make a change, update your resume to suit the current job market. Be bold and discuss your ideas and concerns. Don't take a risk with your help. Pisces, be careful who you share your ideas or beliefs with to avoid a situation that will put you in a vulnerable position. Focus on how you can make a difference, not a disturbance. Aries, don't let uncertainty get you down. Initiate what you want, do it wholeheartedly, and don't look back. It's time to take control and bring about the changes that will lead to a better future. Taurus, emotional spending will turn out to be costly. Size up what's reasonable and look for practical ways to reach your goal. You can accomplish plenty if you take the steps necessary to ensure success. Gemini, set your sights on a reasonable goal. Take a look at what others are doing and ask experts for advice when in doubt. Make decisions based on facts, not emotions or peer pressure. Cancer, fix up your surroundings to accommodate your lifestyle. A unique joint venture will turn out to be lucrative as well as give you an emotional boost. Romance is favored. Leo, keep your emotions in check while dealing with sensitive issues. Say less and listen to complaints and criticism earnestly. The information you receive will help you make positive changes. Virgo, my birth sign, a change to your environment and or surroundings will help you realize what you want. Sum up your alternatives and take steps to improve your life. Don't dismiss an opportunity. Libras, living in the past will be your demise. Focus on moving forward. Discuss your plans with someone close to you. A common goal will be to promote a better connection with someone you love. And finally, Scorpios, look for an alternative routes that will help you channel your skills and energy into something more suitable. Use your imagination. And the horoscope is an entertainment feature, folks, not based on scientific fact. The funerals in the Acadiana area today include Gwendolyn and Bernard at Greenlawn Memorial Garden Cemetery at 1 p.m., Louis Fontenot, St. Michael the Archangel Catholic Church at 2 p.m., Jack Granger, St. Genevieve Church at 1:30 p.m., Francis Knight, La Chapelle de Martin Castile in Lafayette at 2 p.m., and Donald Thibodeau, alongside a funeral home of Opelousas, 4708 I-49 North Service Road in Opelousas at 11 a.m. All right, let's get back into our news. Let's read a couple of PSAs before we move on. The AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learning United. United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, Cox 16, and LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedules and to submit content for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website, unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. And since the last week or so, there's been a third wave or a second wave, whatever you want to call it, of COVID-19 positive testing. You want to keep calm through this time period. There is a hotline you can call if you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty clouding our society right now with this COVID-19 pandemic. There is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support, and it can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are always available 24/7, and all calls are confidential. If you need the service, please call 866-310-7977. And locally, you can Stop the Spread call instead, #Stop the Spread, by finding out the latest COVID-19 updates and information locally. You can go to www.311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals will be active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you're a business owner or employee or looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. Okay, now we'll get back into the news. Letlow wins runoff, for 5th district seat by Tyler Bridges. Luke Letlow served as a top aide to outgoing U.S. Representative Ralph Abraham, easily won election Saturday to replace Abraham to represent the sprawling 5th congressional district. Letlow defeated State Representative Lance Harris of Alexandria, winning 49,182 votes, or about 62% of the 79,306 that were cast. Harris received 30,124, or 38% of the votes cast, according to complete but unofficial returns from the Secretary of State's office. The runoff election gave voters a choice between two Republican candidates who differed little on the issues, but who differed greatly in style. Letlow played up his support from Abraham and also noted that he had the endorsement of 21 of the district's 24 sheriffs. He also had outraised Harris $1.2 million to $500,000 through November 15th, the latest campaign finance period. Only about 15% of voters turned out in this election, the last to be held in the country, thanks to Louisiana's unique election system, in which the November general election serves as primary for congressional races. Letlow led the 9-candidate field in the November 3rd primary, with Harris winning 16.5% of the vote, barely enough to also advance to the runoff. Letlow, 40 years old, will represent a mostly rural district that encompasses 24 parishes and extends from Bastrop in northeast Louisiana through Bunkie, south of Alexandria to Opelousas, north of Lafayette, east past St. Francisville over to Bogalusa and the Florida parishes. Letlow knows the district will, having served as Abraham's chief of staff from the congressman's 24 election until Letlow resigned in March and ran for the seat. Ludlow lived in Start, east of Monroe, which along with Alexandria is one of the district's 2 urban centers. It is the second poorest congressional district in the country. During the campaign, Ludlow touted his insider knowledge of government from his work as an aide to Abraham and to Bobby Jindal when Jindal served as governor and as a congressman. Ludlow said he would use that knowledge to work with Republicans, Democrats, and government bureaucrats to win federal aid for the district. Harris, who owns 8 convenience stores in a pecan orchard in central Louisiana, said he would use his business know-how to be an effective congressman while promising to use his outsider status to challenge unspecified Washington interests. The 2 men attacked each other in TV ads during the runoff. Harris went negative first, accusing Ludlow of being a political insider who has done nothing more than claim paychecks paid by taxpayers. Ludlow hit back a day later against Harris, accusing him of being a career politician, although Harris has served only 9 years in his part-time job in the state house. Ludlow's ad also says Harris helped pass the largest tax hike in Louisiana history. That referred to a 27-month 1-cent increase in the state sales tax approved in 2016 by a bipartisan group of legislators at the behest of Governor John Bell Edwards to close the budget gap that Edwards inherited from Jindal. In an interview 3 days before the election, Ludlow said his priorities will be helping to create jobs and extending fast internet service throughout the district. He noted that he was among those who suffered at home from slow internet speeds. Next article, Higher Education Board Amendment rejected by large margin by Will Sintel. Voters on Saturday overwhelmingly rejected a constitutional amendment that would allow out-of-state residents to serve on the LSU Board of Supervisors and 3 other higher education boards. Voters said no to the proposal by 76%, or 385,656 out of 504,307 votes cast statewide. Only 50% of Louisiana's 3 million registered voters participated. The proposal was the lone constitutional amendment on the ballot after voters decided 7 in the November 3rd general election. Also covered under the plan are the boards of supervisors for the Southern University, University of Louisiana, and the Louisiana Community and Technical College systems. All 4 boards had 15 members, including 2 from each of the state's 6 congressional districts and 3 at-large members. The amendment would have allowed up to 2 of those 3 at-large members to be out-of-state residents. Members are named by the governor. Senator Cleo Fields, Democrat from Baton Rouge, who sponsored the proposal in the legislature, said he did so because of earlier problems getting Lord Cook added to the LSU Board of Supervisors. Cook, who died earlier this year, was an LSU alumnus and chairman of the board of the oil firm Arco. Fields learned Cook could not serve on the LSU panel because he was not a state resident, which prompted his push for the change. The legislation that authorized the amendment breezed through the legislature without a dissenting vote. Fields said 30 other states allow non-residents to serve on their higher education governing boards. The Council for a Better Louisiana, which endorsed the proposal last week, said the National Association of Governing Boards of the Universities and Colleges views allowing out-of-state residents to serve on college boards as a best practice, and doing so can provide institutions with access to individuals with important expertise. Given the fact that there are many alumni of Louisiana universities living across the country who might be able to offer unique expertise and tap into larger networks of financial support for higher education, CABL believes this amendment deserves support, the group said in a short commentary on the amendment. The legislation was called the Lord-Cook Act. No organized opposition to the plan surfaced ahead of the vote. Moving on, CLECO seeks more time to close ash ponds by Haley Parker. A new federal rule aimed at providing more flexibility for coal-fired facilities may give one Louisiana utilities company several more years to close its coal ash storage ponds. Central Louisiana Electric Company Corporate Holdings, LLC, better known as CLECO, is headquartered in Pineville and serves more than 288,000 customers across 24 parishes on the North Shore, in Acadiana, and throughout central Louisiana. It also owns 3 of the 4 coal plants remaining in the state, The industry has declined dramatically with the rise of cheap natural gas, and it manages the only 4 ash ponds or impoundments in Louisiana. 9 environmental groups represented by the environmental law group Earth Justice are suing the Trump administration over the rule, arguing that the rollback by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, improperly weakens a 2015 rule on coal ash waste imposed by the Obama administration. That regulation initiated the mandatory closure of unlined coal ash ponds. Its relaxation by President Donald Trump's EPA gives the pits more time to pollute nearby waterways. The ponds in question hold a slurry of water and coal ash in an earthen pit. Coal ash, a found powder that is produced when plants burn coal, carries high concentrations of carcinogenic heavy metals like arsenic, mercury, and lead. Companies mix it with water to prevent the toxic metals from polluting the air. Wastewater stored in unlined ponds can seep into the soil and contaminate the groundwater, potentially making its way to other water bodies or wells, said Lisa Evans, an Earth Justice attorney. The safest way to close the ash pond is to remove the ash and put it in a landfill that's fortified with fail-safe mechanisms to keep communities safe and when it leaks, said Evans. Power companies were granted a 6-month extension in August by the EPA and are now required to close unlined coal ponds by April 11th. In that order, the EPA also gave companies a chance to request more time to close storage ponds if they preferred to stop generating coal-fired power by a certain date. When companies choose to close in place, they commit to separating the water from the ash and capping the remaining waste in the unlined pond. Sometimes companies also consolidate the pit into a smaller footprint that's further away from any water sources. Companies are required to continue monitoring the groundwater around the pit for at least 30 years after their enclosure. Okay, and got one more state news until we get into sports. And out of Baton Rouge, virus surge not impacting elective procedures so far by Yusuf Radad. As hospitals across the country scale back on certain procedures to meet the need of a deluge of coronavirus patients, Louisiana clinics and hospitals plan to continue optional but often necessary surgery and operations, even as health systems dig in for a third wave of infections. When the coronavirus outbreak intensified in the spring, Louisianians diagnosed with diseases or needing surgeries had to wait weeks for follow-up care as hospitals were forced to push back certain surgeries and procedures. But now, unlike the early stages of the viral outbreak, hospitals say they plan to balance their resources and ability to provide elective procedures like joint replacements, heart and cancer surgeries, among others that aren't considered an emergency. Hospitalizations due to the coronavirus-borne illness, COVID-19, doubled in a month's time across Louisiana and has shown little sign of abating. That has raised alarms for hospital and state leaders that the growing surge could jam up hospitals once again. We take care of the COVID patients. We have a good grasp on that now, said Dr. Ralph Detrieve. Sorry, mispronouncing your last name, Dr. Ralph. I'll go with Dr. Ralph, Vice President of Medical Affairs at Ochsner Medical Center in Baton Rouge. We're running out of room to put them in, and we're running out of nurses to take care of them. With more people landing in hospitals due to the severe bouts of the virus, state health officials say some facilities may be forced to scale back on non-emergency operations, such as knee and hip replacements, heart surgeries, and screenings, among others. St. Tammany Parish Health System recently stopped certain surgeries and operations due to a rise in COVID-19 patients that hospitals expect could grow. The Covington Hospital joined a growing number of health systems, many in the upper Midwest and other hard-hit states that have made similar moves recently. Limited supply of ventilators and PPE equipment for medical workers were a significant part of the decision near the start of the pandemic to tap the brakes on in-person clinic visits, screenings, and non-emergency operations. Health chains like Ochsner managed to clear the nearly 2-month-long backlog of surgeries and procedures when they were allowed to resume in May, but the health impacts of those delays are still unknown. Okay. Now we get into our sports for the morning. Napier staying with the Cajuns after being considered for a South Carolina job by Kevin Foote. At least for now, it appears the UL Raging Cajuns football team has survived another scare, despite multiple reports over the weekend out of Columbia, South Carolina, that Cajuns head coach Billy Napier was rising as a leading contender to replace Will Muschamp as the Gamecocks head coach. Napier squashed those rumors by releasing a statement late Saturday night that he's staying with the Cajuns. It's humbling to be considered a worthy candidate for any job opening, but it's also important to realize that this is a different reflection of our entire organization from top to bottom, Napier said in the statement. Here at the University of Louisiana, we have a special group of people that take tremendous pride in their role. We have dynamic leadership and unique pride and passion for the Raging Cajuns. We are excited to announce that we're moving forward at Louisiana. We look forward to the opportunities and challenges ahead, and we're thankful for the opportunity to represent this community and university. It was reported that Napier interviewed with South Carolina on Saturday, the day after his Cajuns moved to 9-1 with the program's first win over Appalachian State 24-21 on Friday night. Napier chose not to respond to a post-game question asking him to confirm that he was interviewing on Saturday. Just before that question, however, perhaps Napier revealed where his mind's focus is these days. Every person that has contributed going all the way back to the beginning, we stacked a lot of days, a lot of good days, a lot of hard days, Napier said. I'm certainly proud to be associated and excited about tomorrow. We're going to turn the page and start preparing for Coastal Carolina and the championship game in 15 days. Napier completed his third regular season with the Cajuns with that road win. Heading into the conference championship at Coastal Carolina on 7/19th, Napier's record is 27-11. Currently, the Cajuns are ranked number 17 in the AP and coaches poll nationally and number 20 in the college football player poll nationally. That's a national ranking, folks. That's right, the Raging Cajuns are in the national rankings. The Sun Belt Conference received another boost in the national spotlight Saturday with Coastal Carolina defeating unbeaten BYU. The 9-1 Cajuns will now face a 10-0 Chanticleers team in the Sun Belt title game. UL's only loss this season was 30-27 to Coastal on a last-second field goal at Cajun Field. As of now, it appears the Cajuns will play that game free of rumors that Napier will head elsewhere. Okay, continuing with the sports stories in the dance, Saints land a white-knuckle road win over Falcons to clinch playoff berth by Amy Just. The ball hung in the air for what felt like an eternity. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan heaved a last hope, desperate prayer of a pass 39 yards to the end zone where 9 Falcons and New Orleans Saints players clustered together as time expired. The ball bounced off several fingertips, but Ryan's pass ultimately fell to the turf, letting the Saints breathe a sigh of relief. The Falcons pleaded for one more second on the clock, one more chance at defeating their arch rivals, or merely labeled visitor on the Mercedes-Benz Stadium scoreboards. Alas, no. The referee, Adrian Hill, proclaimed the game had ended with the Saints winning 21-16, giving New Orleans its 9th straight victory. That outcome, paired with the Detroit Lions' improbable comeback against the Chicago Bears, made the Saints 10-2 in the season, the first team to clinch a spot in the NFL playoffs. We knew it'd be a tough game, Saints coach Sean Payton said. Playing a team like this the second time around in 3 weeks, the numbers aren't really good for the team in the past that won the first game. Before the Falcons had a chance to win the game in its final moments, the Saints just needed to run on the clock, but quarterback Taysom Hill made what could have been a costly mistake. The Saints defense had just forced a turnover on downs with a clutch red zone stop courtesy of safety Marcus Williams and cornerback P.J. Williams in double coverage on veteran Julio Jones on 4th down to give New Orleans the ball back with 1:36 to play and a 5-point lead. With 1:30 on the clock on 2nd down, Hill fumbled for the 3rd time on the afternoon. However, the ball took 3 bounces before rolling out of bounds for a loss of 1 yard. By rule, the Saints kept possession to prompt 3rd and 8. I've got to put 2 hands on that ball in the situation, Hill said. The guy came over, made a good play, and popped the ball out. I'm obviously disappointed about that. That's something I certainly need to fix, he said. Hill completed 73% of his passes with 232 yards, with 2 passing touchdowns, and added 14 carries for 83 yards on the ground and 3 fumbles. Peyton partially faulted himself for Hill's last fumble, saying he didn't like the position I put him in with the play call. Every once in a while, I'll have regrets on a situation, and that one certainly will be one of them, Peyton said. On the next play, Hill kept the ball on a designed quarterback run, coming up 4 yards short of the first down. Saints punter Thomas Morstead boosted the ball 40 yards downfield, leaving the Falcons time for 3 plays. An incompletion intended for Jones, a 22-yard connection between Ryan and receiver Calvin Ridley, and the Hail Mary. The game didn't feel close until the bitter end. And there's more in that story, but it's now 9:56 according to my clock, which means that at 5 minutes before the hour, our TV station's audio portion of Local News Live has ended. You can continue listening. If you've been listening to it on our TV stations, you can continue listening to it on our online streaming at Cypress Street Radio. That's CYPRESS Stream Radio. Just put it in your browser, go to the homepage, click the play button, or you can listen to us at our YouTube station, which is AOC Community Media. And so in the first half, the Saints converted 7 of 9 third downs. Over that same time frame, the Saints defense forced the Falcons to 3 and outs and limited them to 3 field goals, giving New Orleans a 14-9 halftime lead. But first half touchdowns came through the air. Hill's first career passing touchdown went to receiver Tregon Smith in the first quarter on a 15-yard play, and he connected with tight end Jared Cook for an 11-yard score. Even with Smith and Cook in the mix, Hill's favorite receiver Sunday was Michael Thomas, who caught 9 passes for 105 yards. His 7th reception, a 6-yard third down conversion in the third quarter, was his 500th career catch. That's right, 500 career catches, making Thomas the fastest player in NFL history to reach that milestone. Previous fastest was 80 games. Thomas did it in 69. Michael Thomas is phenomenal. He's a big, strong, physical receiver, Hill said. Such a security blanket for a quarterback early in their career. I know that dude has fight on every play. He's so big, strong, and physical that if you make the right throw, he's open. The Saints went up 21-9 after their first drive of the second half, piecing together a 12-play, 75-yard drive that took nearly 6 minutes off the clock before running back Alvin Kamara burst into the end zone from 11 yards out. Kamara led the way on the ground with 88 yards and 15 carries. Hill's 83 yards were right behind, with most of those coming at one play, a career-long 43-yard scramble that put the Saints in scoring position. Okay, LSU starts fast and big win. Well-rounded effort topples LA Tech 86-55 by Sheldon Mickles. The LSU men's basketball team came up with a perfect recipe to win its game with Louisiana Tech on Sunday afternoon. Behind some early three-point shooting and a solid defensive effort that clamped down on Louisiana Tech's top 2 scorers, LSU raced to a double-digit lead just 10 and a half minutes in and rolled to an 86-55 victory in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. Javonte Smart started the three-point barrage, and Darius Days knocked down 3 in a row from a long range. Fort Smart buried his second tray with 11:02 left in the first half for an 18-10 lead. On the other end of the floor, LSU, who's 3-1 for the season, set the tone by clamping down on Louisiana Tech's top 2 scorers, Caleb Ledoux and Jacoby Pemberton, and what would be a recurring theme for that duo. Ledoux, who came in averaging 17 points a game, and Pemberton, who averaged 15 points in the first 3 games this season for Tech, who are also 3-1 for the season, combined for just 4 points in the first half. That helped LSU, which led by as many as 21 points in the first half, to take a 43-24 lead to the locker room. While Ledoux and Pemberton were struggling to connect on 2 of 10 field goal attempts, Days and Smart had 11 points each, while Traydon Watford and Cam Thomas added 8 each. The Dew finished the game with 4 points and Bremerton was held to 2. They combined to go 3 of 19 from the floor. Tech shot just 28.8% for the game on all field goals and 17.2% on three-point attempts. LSU has 6 days off for final exams before facing South Florida and the Hoopsgiving Classic in Atlanta at 1:30 p.m. on this Saturday. And that wraps it up, folks. That's a Local News Live. It's now 10 a.m. We do this as a public service every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on our TV channels up to the 55 minutes before the hour, but also on our online streaming, Cypress Street Radio, and our YouTube station, AOC Community Media. And we appreciate you listening in. If you'd like to do what I do, become a volunteer newspaper reader, just go to our website. That's AOCinc.org. Look at the volunteer, bring down the volunteer tab, look up the form for the volunteer newspaper reader. Miss Mandy will be in touch with you once she receives that form that you filled out, and then she can get you started. And we're doing all our broadcasts from home studios. We have been for the past 9.5 months or so. Because of COVID, we can't really go into the studios. I do miss the podcast booth, but I'm doing it from my home, so I get to dress in my PJs to do the broadcast for you in the mornings. As always, this is Bruce Cohen. Will always be Bruce Cohen. I appreciate you tuning in. Look forward to reading you in the news. I'll be back tomorrow morning on the flip-flop. As always, be safe, be healthy, and be smart out there. We're still in the midst of this pandemic, so just be smart, wear your mask, do all the protocols, and also be kind to each other, folks. That's very important these days. Just be kind to each other. Have respect. Have a great day. We'll see you on the flip-flop. Bye-bye for now.